What's up everyone and welcome. In this episode we are going to talk about the maxtrilha banking trojan. I have to be honest, the original article is a bit difficult to read and follow, at least it was for me, and it's probably because it seems as if the author's primary language is not English. But that doesn't take away from the importance of the news or what we can gather from it, so let's jump right in and see what we can learn.
Oh, drat these computers. They're so naughty and so complex. I could pinch them.
Criminals are constantly creating variants of popular banking trojans, keeping in mind or keeping the modus operandi, but maybe changing the malware internals and potentially its capabilities, making it fully undetectable. A recent campaign has been disseminated in Latin America, and then it was extended to Europe and Portugal. The campaign has been leveraged by Brazilian criminals gangue, who use customized phishing templates to spread the Trojan maxtrilha according to the target country. The malware samples disseminated in Portugal open a legitimate webpage from, now my Portuguese is not very good, but I'm going to give it a try, Autoridade Tributaria e Aduaneira Finanças. Hey, good for me. They open this legitimate webpage to lure victims during the execution of the first stage. After that, the malware creates persistence. It disables Internet Explorer security settings to facilitate the download of the second stage from the internet. In short, the second stage checks or creates persistence when executed on the target machine. It uses a mechanism of capturing details from open foreground browser windows, matching the name within the browser with specific hard-coded strings related to banking companies. It launches banking Windows overlays, and it can deploy new payloads. And it can communicate with command and control servers in real time.
We'll just have to outsmart them. Here's my scheme. Say, pay attention, boys.
The maxtrilha trojan was developed in Delphi language. It's an x64 binary, and it can bypass antivirus and EDRS systems, at least at the time of the analysis that was done on it. Key findings we have from this trojan: maxtrilha has been disseminated via crafted phishing templates targeted by country. The maxtrilha first stage opens a legitimate service previously presented on the phishing template to lure victims during its execution. The first stage creates persistence on the infected machine. It disables Internet Explorer security settings and accepted extensions in order to facilitate the download of the second stage. The second stage checks or creates persistence on the machine in case persistence wasn't created in the first stage, or somehow that persistence was lost. It installs or modifies Windows trusted certificates. It checks by opening Windows to perform banking Windows overlays to steal credentials, and it can deploy additional payloads executed via the DLL injection technique. The victim's data is encrypted and sent to the C2 server, geolocated in Russia. Now let's go step by step through the details of maxtrilha malware and look at how it operates, as well as what kind of data it's exfiltrated. The campaign starts with a phishing email impersonating a bank. The domain in the email samples analyzed was cld.pt. So right there we have one filter we can add to our mail servers to deal with those kinds of emails. The domain in the email has been found to have been used in multiple malicious campaigns throughout 2021, not just the maxtrilha malware wave. The URLs fit a pattern of roughly 6 random characters .s.cld.pt, where again the 6 random character, the 6 characters, 67 characters before the domain is a random string. The first alert on this banking trojan was triggered on the 0xSI_F33D. The maxtrilha loader is customized by criminals according to the target country, and it performs some tasks in advance. Namely, it opens a legitimate target page during its execution via a hard-coded short URL. Think something like bit.ly or TinyURL or something similar. It does this because it wants to get the IP address of the machine you're on, so it can geolocate your machine and say which country you are, because the second stage that is downloaded, it will be specific to your country. Now, again, this creates persistence on the target machine. This trojan disables Internet Explorer security settings, and it downloads the second stage based on your country. So far, there have been samples for Portugal, Spain, and Mexico. Within each downloaded maxtrilha second stage loader file, there is a specific short URL hard-coded that is based on the target country. I just said that. Now, in the case of the maxtrilha loader disseminated in Portugal, it uses the TinyURL online service, which is open during the malware execution by the default web browser installed and available on the victim's machine. The short URL points to a specific page related to the phishing template to lure victims.
Ain't you ashamed? intoxicated.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I'm a teetotaler. Yeah, I'll never touch the stuff, boy. There's nothing to walk. I say there's nothing to walk in a straight line, boy.
In another sample, also disseminated in Portugal, researchers found a different hard-coded string instead of the short URL. Now, this specific domain is cached on Google, and it redirects to the victim to the authentication page. With this trick in place, criminals can bypass some security agents. So there are two ways that they are getting you through. One is through the use of something like a TinyURL or a bit.ly, and the other is a hard-coded string that goes to a cached Google page, which is then the phishing or the spoofed website. After running the executable, it opens the target page to lure victims while it creates persistence. It disables Internet Explorer security settings and downloads the second stage into the public folder. Now, in some cases, legitimate portals were used to lure victims during the maxtrilha execution in Portugal, Spain, and Mexico. So it's not just these dummy websites. They're also the use, probably through some type of cross-site scripting, the use of legitimate web portals. So we now have a Trojan or a malware on our system that will open up a bait page or a spoofed banking page for us to enter in our credentials. After showing this authentication page, the Trojan performs specific tasks in the background. The first step is to modify software policy settings, namely the Windows Trusted Certificates, to act later as a proxy agent. Both the binaries, first stage and second stage, perform this operation at runtime. So they use pdf.exe to create access time, create path, software policies, Microsoft Systems certificates, and CA. It uses the same control or the same command to create system certificates /disallowed /trusted people /root. It then uses MSI true color.exe to create those paths again. Software policies, Microsoft Systems certificates /CA. It creates disallowed, it creates trusted people, it creates root, and it creates trust. Now, the first loader changes Internet Explorer security settings to facilitate the download of the second stage without any restrictions. Queries used to create or change sensitive Internet security settings include iExplorer.exe, path, HKCU, software, Microsoft Internet Explorer, security key, disable security settings check. So that's disabling the security settings check within Internet Explorer. It also changes or queries the display settings of system-associated file extensions. So it uses iExplorer, access type, query val, path, HKLM, software, classes, system file associations, .exe, key, never show extension. Now, so the loader also has the capacity to select the name of the target file to download. These names are hard-coded in a list with well-known music songs, for example, Duncan Lawrence, Ed Sheeran, Chris Stapleton, etc. The final step of the second stage is downloaded from the Sage prototype go.pt septcult mp4 domain path into the public folder and the binary path added to the Windows registry. So there we have some strings that we can actually add to our scans if they aren't already. Now, after this, the bank page spoofing tasks happen, followed by the exfiltration and then the encryption of data from the machine. So what data is it trying to exfiltrate? Besides your machine IP address and maybe any system information it can find, it is trying to really get at your banking credentials. So to recap, maxtrilha Trojan uses an online service to check the internet connection and to get the victim's IP address and their geolocation. Then it creates PHP files dynamically on the command control server based on the victim's IP addresses. It checks or creates persistence on the Windows registry. It performs monitoring on the user navigation within the browsers for targeted banking portals hard-coded inside the binary. It retrieves commands from the command control server and it sends the command control server the gathered data, IP address, geolocation, banking credentials. It can also deploy additional payloads executed via the DLL injection technique. So this could also turn into a deployment for ransomware. So what did we learn? Well, there's a new banking Trojan in town that currently relies primarily on phishing campaigns to spread. So make sure you, your family members, your coworkers, your company employees are vigilant in their efforts to recognize and stop phishing campaigns. Once the loader is installed, it makes changes to specific registry keys as outlined earlier. So we can incorporate monitoring to those registry keys, or since it targets Internet Explorer, maybe we could just delete Internet Explorer from the system. I mean, I'm just saying, it's an option, right? It then spoofs specific banks to dupe you into entering your credentials. So what do? Well, we bookmark our legit bank URLs and any other really important websites that we want to, and only ever visit those banks from the bookmark, and never, ever, 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 ever from an email. With that, I say thanks again for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the bell if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.